Well, thank you so much. Isn't that nice? Everybody just quieted down all of a sudden. So nice to see everybody here. And it's great to see all my colleagues up here again. We just had our Committee of the Whole meeting at 5 o'clock, and now we are back for our business meeting this evening. So I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Kalamazoo City Commission for Monday, April 6th, 2026. And the first order of business is roll call. Deputy Clerk Moss.
Commissioner Hess.
Present.
Commissioner Hoffman. Commissioner Pradle.
Present.
Commissioner Slaby.
Present.
Commissioner Wilson.
Present.
Vice Mayor Duncan.
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Here. May I have a motion to excuse Commissioner Hoffman?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Pradle.
Second.
Seconded by Vice Mayor Duncan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Commissioners. We are blessed for our opening ceremony here to have Pastor Jermaine Gale from the Kalamazoo Seventh-day Adventist Church. And it's his first time here in these chambers doing this, so thank you, Pastor, for being here. As I invite him to come up to provide us with an invocation, I'm going to ask everybody in the chambers, please, to stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor.
Thank you, Mayor. Holy Father, we ask for wisdom as the leaders of this wonderful city gather together to discuss the items that are on the agenda tonight. We also pray that you be with the wonderful citizens of this city, and we pray that as we gather together to try to reason together and figure out what steps to take in dealing with the pressing matters before us, we ask for your presence to be in our midst as well, and we pray that your blessings will rest on this gathering is our prayer in your name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you again, Pastor. I appreciate it. We have a proclamation this evening. The proclamation is for Choices for Change 35th anniversary, and I believe that Michelle Serlin is here and crew, right? Please come forward. I will come down with the proclamation, and Commissioner Hess will be reading it.
Thank you, Mayor. It gives me great pleasure to present this to Choices for Change 35th anniversary. Whereas Choices for Change in downtown Kalamazoo, Michigan has been a pioneering for-profit social work outreach organization providing care and services to Medicare, Medicaid, and indigent clients, as well as those with greater abilities to pay. And whereas Choices for Change collaborates with other agencies and offers services in the office, in schools, in homes, throughout the community. And whereas over 35 years, the agency staff has helped stabilize families, lower child abuse, neglect, and improve education, strengthen relationships, help individuals grow, educate, learn, and use groups to build trust. And whereas Choices for Change have trained more than 60 master's level social work and counseling interns from local colleges and universities, as well as donating more than $2 million in pro bono care and service. And whereas Choices for Change has been recognized with multiple honors and awards throughout their 35 years, the Michigan Mental Health Counselors Association Award, State of Michigan Tribute for over $1 million in donated services, Above and Beyond Award by the Michigan Coalition Against Domestic Violence are just a few. Now therefore, on behalf of the 56th City Commission and David F. Anderson, Mayor of the City of Kalamazoo, I do hereby recognize April 1st, 2026 as the 35th anniversary of Choices for Change in the city of Kalamazoo and celebrate the positive impact they have had on members in our community. Thank you for your work. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It's been a joy to serve this community and to help with the homeless and to have this very unique, first time ever agency that works with both people who have, that have private insurance as well as Medicaid. Before we started, no one was willing to do that in a private practice. And I just want to thank everyone for being able to serve, and most of all, thank our clients, because we learn every day from them, and we learn how actually very strong homeless people are in managing very difficult lives in ways that I could honestly never understand. But we watch it every day. And thank you for this lovely proclamation. And we'd like to invite everyone here to Choices for Change 35th anniversary from 3 to 7 at Choices for Change. There'll be lots of good food. 218 West Walnut in Kalamazoo, and we'd love to have you, because we would like to celebrate that we've been able to serve our community. Do you want to?
That'll be
April
Friday.
10th.
All right.
Oops. Do you want to say something,
Yeah,
honey?
that's fine. You said it all.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, now we are down to C, the adoption of the formal agenda. First of all, Commissioners, are there any items on G, the consent agenda, you would like to move to H, the regular agenda? Seeing none, Manager Hankins, any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to amend item G13, subpoint 5, related to the appointment of Drew Duncan. I'd remove the second sentence with the agenda with the language regarding waivers. So I'd like to remove that second part of that. It doesn't apply in this case. Do you want?
And any other changes?
Yes, and also I'd ask that item H3 be removed from tonight's agenda. Given the timing and the need for additional review to ensure the Commission has a full understanding of the longer-term implications, removing the item, I believe, is appropriate. It also effectively means non-acceptance of the grant at this time.
Okay, thank you, Manager Hankins. So that means that the agenda has been modified in two ways. One, to remove the second sentence relative to the appointment of Drew Duncan in that particular section under G13. The second started with included. And then it is also removing item H3 from tonight's agenda. Thank you so much. The agenda then is adopted as changed. Manager Hankins, any communications?
None at this time.
All right, thank you so much. Now is the opportunity for public comments. Anyone who wants to make a public comment for the good of the order here to the Commission on any topic is welcome to do so at this time. Just a reminder that you will have 4 minutes. Please state your name and whether you live in the city.
Hello, I'm Kay. I'm still going to read what I wrote for the COPS grant. The COPS grant is framed as public safety, but it has always been racial profiling and broken policing systems that fuel a pipeline from policing on our streets to the for-profit detention centers that are filled by ICE agents terrorizing communities. We cannot tolerate this in Kalamazoo. Thank you for those who joined us at 5:30 for the rally and the protest announcing the 2025 COPS grant that was being considered by the city manager and the commission for approval. Although we are happy to see this rescinded, I would like to highlight the importance of community pressure. This is what democracy looks like. This grant has already been awarded to the city. Whether it was to be implemented today into the city's budget and into the rotten police system was up to the city commission. We are here because not only has police brutality been a national issue, but now we see ICE agents compounding this violent issue. Locally, we see what we can expect from police and ICE with GRPD killing Daquan Johnson and ICE violently detaining Byron Martinez. These are not separate systems. These are the same systems using the same tactics and the carceral system to brutalize and murder black and brown people. They want us to trust them despite what the OIR report exposes about the rotten, violent, racist culture within KDPS. This report came about when KDPS pepper sprayed peaceful protesters and seemingly sided with the Proud Boys back in 2020-ish. We will never ever stand for this violent encroachment in Kalamazoo because we have eyes on what is happening in our neighboring city of Grand Rapids, who has decided not to charge the cops who murdered Daquan. Parallel to this, GRPD shows up to support the escalation of ICE violence. A perfect example is Byron Martinez's arrest, who continues to be in the detention center, the concentration camp, despite winning his habeas corpus case, meaning that he continues to be wrongfully detained after the judge denied his bond. Do we want these similar stories in Kalamazoo community? We are standing against this in support of our neighboring communities. ICE was about to take over our city. We were about to get more than just 10 ICE agents from this grant. And do not think for a second that we are safe or immune or that KDPS is any different from GRPD. The OIR report already told us this, that KDPS had a problem with defensiveness, tone deafness, indignation. They said KDPS shows insularity, unease with transparency, and reluctance to acknowledge even a possibility of fault. This is clearly shown in the endorsement of this grant, despite the community continuously coming to the city commission meetings to pressure the commission to be vocal about denouncing neighboring 287G agreements, which create anti-immigrant cultures that seep into our Kalamazoo community. The silence was concerning. This grant is proof of the glaring issues within our policing system, as the OIR report stated, and in our city commission. Already impacted communities here in Kalamazoo are on edge about the ICE encroachment, especially with the increasing 287G agreements in our neighboring counties. We are just a short drive, heightened as well with the violence that we see in the media by ICE. There is already a fear and hesitancy to call KDPS for assistance, and this grant, and not rescinding this grant, just puts people more at edge, and it breaks the already fraught relationship with the police within black and brown communities. Justice for Daquan and justice for Byron Martinez. I'm gonna stand here and take my time. So maybe y'all will.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Simone Schicker, and I'm the rabbi of Temple B'nai Israel. I live on Westmoreland Avenue, and both the temple and myself are within the city limits of Kalamazoo. I speak for myself and many of my congregants, including the temple's board of directors, when I thank the city for rejecting this grant. We were here to implore that you reject this grant from the Department of Justice because of the harmful conditions the grant would require of the city to follow, including sharing information with ICE, Homeland Security, compliance with presidential orders and memoranda, and likely putting diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in danger. It is for these exact same reasons that my congregation's leadership voted to not pursue any federal grants at this time, even though the money would be incredibly beneficial for the congregation's safety and well-being. We recognize that our values and religious teachings require us to care for our neighbors, to protect the stranger, and to be a light unto the nations. I and my congregation are grateful every day for the hard work of our KDPS officers, and we implore you to find other ways to fund KDPS, as acceptance of the grants or any other federal grant with these conditions is harmful for our entire community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good to see you all. My name is Wendy Fields, and I stand before you this evening as the president of the Kalamazoo branch of the NAACP, and on behalf of our executive committee. So, I was looking up to see what this grant entailed, and it says project description. The FY25 COPS hiring program provides funding to law enforcement agencies to hire and/or rehire additional career law enforcement officers in an effort to increase their community policing capacity and crime prevention efforts. Anticipated outcomes of CHP awards include engagement in planned community partnerships, implementation of projects to analyze and assess problems, implementation of changes to personnel, and agency management in support of community policing, and increased capacity of agency to engage in community policing activities. And so I looked at the 39 conditions of this grant and was quite concerned with some of the language that was in there. And I know that it's been rescinded, and I'm happy for that, but just in case it comes back up here and I'm unable to make it, I want you to know how NAACP stands on this. So I reviewed the 39 conditions attached to the grants. Some of the wording is stringent, highly detailed, and subjective, allowing the federal government broad authority to investigate or monitor citizens at any time, citizens and non-citizens, causing fear and mistrust. The language suggests using any excuse to justify actions to unlawfully search, monitor, arrest, bully, and intimidate this community. For example, condition number 3, and this is in part, by accepting this award, certifies that it does not operate any programs, including any such programs having components relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion, that violate any applicable federal civil rights or non-discrimination laws. Then there was condition 4. Federal laws, presidential memoranda, and executive orders, recipients of grant funding must comply with all applicable federal laws and presidential memoranda and all executive orders by the president. You may think to yourselves, oh no, that's not what it means, but I beg you to consider who's sitting in the White House. A person with 34 felonies who disrespected Supreme Court justices, fired competent staff, and replaced with people with little or no experience. He called Haiti, El Salvador, American nations, assholes. He told 4 U.S. rep of color to go back where they came from, and we know of the Epstein files, and the list goes on. The NAACP stands in resolute opposition to accepting this grant, as we believe it poses significant risks that will undermine the progress of our community, that our community has fought hard to achieve as we collectively continue to strive to get better. And lastly, I'll leave you with this. The Bible tells us, 1 Timothy 6:10, this is the New Living Translation, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and some people, craving money, have wandered from the true faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Next, please.
Good evening, Mayor Anderson, Commissioners, City Manager Hankins, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Irshad Manji. I am an outsider but I feel like an honorary citizen of Kalamazoo. Because in the past 3 years, I've been here 6 times. And that's largely thanks to Western Michigan University, which is teaching its undergrads how to practice moral courage. I'm the founder of Moral Courage College, and we teach people, including college undergrads, how to turn heated issues into healthy conversations and sustained teamwork. Now, I want to alert everybody here to a real distinction that Western Michigan University has earned. You see, it is tomorrow launching a first-in-the-nation initiative, first in the nation, to certify undergrads as moral courage mentors, young people who will teach their own peers the skills that I'm talking about. And what makes this uniquely Kalamazoo is the involvement, in fact, the primacy of 2 kinds of student groups. One is student athletes, who will be mentoring fellow student athletes. And the other, of course, is K-Promise students, and you don't find them anywhere else. As I mentioned, WMU is the first university in America to do this. And I emphasize this because of something I said to Commissioner Hess earlier today. We ran into each other, and of course we know each other from my past visits, and I said to her, and this was completely unprompted, I said, Commissioner Hess, there is no place like Kalamazoo. And she said, do you want to tap your heels 3 times and spread this magic? I explained to her why there is no place like Kalamazoo. And in many ways, the fact that this room is packed to the gills speaks to what I'm about to say. Dreamers are everywhere in this world, and God bless them. In Kalamazoo, though, there is a disproportionate number of dreamers who are also doers. That, I will tell you, from traveling throughout this country, is rare. And I am so proud to be affiliated with this city. You are doers. Where else are students going to be learning to become agile, not fragile, in the face of accelerating change? Nowhere but Kalamazoo. So I'll leave you with this. Your support of what we're doing at Western is an investment, not just in the zoo's readiness for the future, but also in its capacity to set a national standard for educational innovation. And so for anybody who's interested in helping us kick off this initiative tomorrow, please come to Heritage Hall on the East Campus of Western Michigan at 3 p.m.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, my name is Leslie Zook, and I live on Bronson Boulevard. I just want to tack on to what that young lady just said about moral courage. I don't have a lot of it, and this is the first time I've ever done something like this, and I get it from my daughter, who was also a graduate of Western Michigan University. When I was looking through the agenda report, there were a couple of things that stood out to me. The fact that you guys want to hire 10 new police officers, I know you shut it down, but why not hire 10 more social workers? I don't know.
So I'm unfortunately, I'm going to interrupt here just because this is a business meeting. There's a lot of people lined up to talk, and people may have different views, so if people would just be willing to let people talk, not cheer or boo, I'd appreciate that very much. Thank you.
So that's what my daughter studied, was social work, so that's kind of where this stems from. I also looked at some of the numbers that you guys have in this, and it was saying that, we needed these 10 new officers because the community's growing, but I did some research and it says the population has decreased since the year of 2000, and businesses, I looked up a couple numbers on that. In 2024, 38 new businesses opened, restaurants, cafes, and bars, and 31 closed. In 2025, only 31 opened and 24 closed. Why do we need more people if there's not as many people to police? So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello to everybody. Thank you for your service. My name is Carol Anderson. I live on West Nitch Hill. I've lived in Kalamazoo for 30 years, retired from Kalamazoo College a few years ago, and had the honor of working with many, many different students, dreamers, documented, undocumented, through COVID. It was amazing, but those students are all doing amazing, amazing work around the country. And it's in part for them that I'm standing here. Now, I've heard a number of arguments since this issue was placed on the March agenda, and we've become aware of this, and I want to thank members of our community for flagging this and bringing this to the awareness of all of us who are here. One argument that I've heard is that this grant is no different than other grants that this city has received in past years. 2019, the City Commission refused to accept it, and that was the right decision then. It's also the right decision now. However, I'd like to point out that the government that awarded those grants in past years is not the same government that we have today. There is no goodwill on the part of DHS or the federal government. ICE and Border Patrol have always been used as a weapon against immigrants. In the last 15 months, we have seen the radical expansion of ICE and Border Patrol and the ways that they have deliberately targeted and killed Black and brown immigrants and citizens alike in Minneapolis and around the country. While this grant may be no different than those awarded in past years, the Department of Homeland Security and our federal government are now run by fascists who have no respect whatsoever for the law. That's my first point. We may be the same. The government is not. When it comes to the logistics of receiving the funds, the city has to pay out $1.25 million in order to get the grant. That's my understanding. If it's wrong, I will correct this. Now, that's a risk. This administration has reneged on any number of financial obligations. Contractors for the new ballroom have gone unpaid. ICE and Border Patrol agents, their allies, have not received their sign-in bonus. What makes us think that we will actually receive the money? Again, my point is that our federal government no longer follows any rules, and we are naive to think that they will. My final point is one that you've already realized. To accept this grant is to risk becoming an arm of DHS, ICE, and Border Patrol. That is a risk that is too great for this city to take. A grant of $1,250,000 isn't worth selling out our documented and undocumented neighbors of color. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Marisol. I'm a lifelong native of Kalamazoo. I work with our immigrant and Latino community members. I work with youth, with families, with laborers, older adults, mothers. And I am here today not only to vehemently oppose the COPS grant proposal, but to propose some of the ways that we as a community can build something better. I would like to begin with the fundamental and data-supported truth that more cops does not make our communities safer. It does not solve the homelessness crisis. It does not keep federal agents from coming in and kidnapping our community members. As much as my optimistic side would love for public safety to actually mean the safety of our communities, I'm sorry to say that the things that do make our communities safer are largely not happening at the city level. The mutual aid work of many of the amazing people in this room makes our communities safer. The boots on the ground grassroots organizing and campaigning makes our communities safer. The fight to build something better in a country with an insidiously violent status quo, that makes our communities safer. I encourage you to be part of imagining something better. Not to be facetious, but it is quite literally the motto for the 2035 city plan. I'm offering points specifically to the COPS grant, but I encourage you to keep them in mind for other projects. Firstly, we need to abandon the idea that just because this grant says only this kind of data sharing, and we already do that, so it's okay. This rationalizing is incredibly harmful. I have seen community members stripped away from their 2-week-old babies and 4 other children because of this kind of data sharing. I have seen pregnant mothers struggle to work in greenhouses to support their families because their husband has been taken by ICE because of this kind of data sharing. That kind of data sharing is how ICE is doing their sinister disappearing work here in our community, and I want you to hear me say that. They are kidnapping our neighbors. It is happening now, and it's unacceptable. The next thing we need to think incredibly critically about is the idea of developing any more ties as a community, especially monetary ones, to this federal government. A government that murders people execution style in the streets, a government that bombs schools with children in them, a government that brutalizes and disappears Black and brown families without mercy or hesitation, not just now, but since its inception. A government that changes laws and acts illegally on a daily basis is not an entity that we as a community have any business connecting ourselves to. Not only is it irresponsible and dangerous, but accepting this money affirms and demonstrates agreement and compliance. Furthermore, this grant will make any future sanctuary ordinance impossible, and alongside that, make any other forms of resistance more challenging. Please do not set up our community for failure in this way. The time will come when ICE will come to our city to threaten and kidnap our neighbors. A sanctuary ordinance and a refusal to submit taxpayer-funded resources to support violence in our community is the bare minimum responsibility that you as legislators have to the people of this city. I would like to end just by saying that I believe in the people of this city. By the number of folks who have showed up here today to speak about the COPS grant and other things that are important to them, the people who are out in the streets doing the work to feed the unhoused, the people showing up at House meetings and protests and raising funds to support each other. The world is shifting. Our focus needs to be actual community safety, local self-sufficiency, and a responsible distribution of resources. Please work with us on this. Don't be another obstacle that the people need to address. Don't support and comply with the brutality and violence of this federal administration. Join us in imagining something better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Catherine Hines. I'm a resident of Kalamazoo's West Douglas neighborhood. Thank you all for serving our city. I came here to talk about the COPS grant and to say that I was very disappointed and appalled that it was even being considered. I also just want to remind everyone that immigration is a civil matter, not a criminal matter. That's why we have immigration courts, and that's why the immigration courts that we have are being destroyed by the current federal administration. Please don't help them in this evil work. Please don't consider accepting blood money. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
I'm Sarah Schmidt-Lee. I live in the Millwood neighborhood, and I'm one of the pastors at First Congregational Church here in downtown Kalamazoo. I am also part of a small group of citizens that's been gathering on the front steps of the City Hall every Wednesday at 12:30 to pray for our elected officials to have moral courage. We pray for our federal elected officials, for people on the state level, we pray for our county commission, and we pray for all of you. I am so glad that the grant funding for KDPS is off of tonight's agenda and that thereby we are declining it for this year. But moral courage calls for much more than recognizing we don't have time to sort out the details to figure out whether to accept something. Moral courage is standing up and saying that as long as Immigration and Customs Enforcement and DHS are ignoring the US Constitution, as long as our president is writing executive orders that ignore the US Constitution, then we will not accept federal money that comes with stipulations that require us to comply with those agencies or with those executive orders. I will continue to be out on the steps of this City Hall every Wednesday at 12:30, praying for you to have the moral courage that this moment requires. And if anything else comes before this commission that has those stipulations, any other funding, then I'll be in this room speaking against it again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
evening. My name is Vicki Vanis. I live on Lake Street in the city of Kalamazoo. I came here to speak about the COPS grant since it's been rejected. I just want to speak to anything that we might enter into that has a condition which states that the recipients are obligated to share individual immigration status with the Department of Homeland Security, and which states that you have to, along with following federal laws, you have to abide by any memoranda or signed executive order by the president. These stipulations tell me that at any time the president can mandate our Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety to do its bidding. It is impossible that the president knows more about how to police Kalamazoo than our own local police department. The only reason for these requirements is to make KDPS an arm of his Gestapo-esque ICE raids. When we see what happened in Minnesota with people being literally murdered in the streets and others hauled away without due process, some of them even being found to be lawful citizens, but even they were dropped off nowhere near their homes without coats or phones to somehow find their way back home in the freezing winter temperatures, and at least one person died trying to find his way back home. And then there are the people who never came back and are sitting in concentration camps somewhere here in the United States. The idea of people being imprisoned without due process, many of them children, and very few of them actual criminals, leaves many of us saying, "This is not my America." I live near the police station. I consider the officers to be my neighbors. It seems like the older I get, the younger the officers get. But their mandate remains the same, to protect and serve. My other neighbors are a diverse group. Many of them have a darker tint to their skin than me, and some speak English as a second language. I see them going off to work in the morning. I see their children waiting for the school bus. I see them in Upjohn Park, laughing in the playground, playing cricket, rugby, soccer, basketball, football, as well as using the skateboard park and celebrating birthdays and graduations in the picnic area. We are a microcosm of the great America melting pot. This sharing of cultures and coming together for the good of all is what makes America great. The way to have less crime comes when there are more opportunities for everyone. There is less crime when we invest in our children through after-school programs, nourishing daycare and housing and job opportunities for parents, et cetera, using our police department to assist in the president's goal of ridding our country of everyone except white Christians will not only put our officers in the position of having to rip parents away from terrified children and send people away never to be seen again, it will also undo all the work that KDPS has done to try to gain the trust of this community, and I fear we will never get it back.
Thank you. Next, please.
Letitia McKissick, and I live in the Millwood area. I own a couple homes over on the north side. So, my complaint, I have been calling and calling, asking for you guys to deal with these sidewalks, these trees, these potholes. I get no response. I get nothing. I think that out of professionalism, out of accountability, out of my taxes, that somebody should answer me. It's like we all want better, but the better only happens from Michigan to the south side. It doesn't happen on the north side. And that's not fair. We have, outside of my property on Union Street, I've been begging for the last 2 years for a tree to come down, twice. The last one, 3 years ago, the tree actually fell on my property, and I had to pay for it. Nobody's doing anything. We have, the factory that's over on the corner of, down at the end of Hopkins, they use their semi-trucks, they come through, they tear up my roads. You have Metro, they're tearing it up also. I got craters, and no one is responding to me. We all want better, but we want everybody to be better, not just South Side. It's not fair. So I need help. I need accountability. My taxes go up, but I get less work. I'm done.
Thank you. Next, please.
Chief Seats, I live in my van, which is often parked in the city of Kalamazoo. And thank you, first of all, for showing the integrity to not pass the COPS Act tonight. And happy belated Easter. On that thought, Jesus said in Matthew 16, verse 26, I think, what does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? I'm no theologian, but I might translate that into, what good is this free money if it costs you your integrity? And that's exactly what this grant would have done. We don't have to look back in history more than 100 years to see that it may start with Jews, it may start with immigrants, but it will not stop there. And who's next? There's going to be more free tainted money in the pipeline being offered you guys to tempt you. Please show that same wisdom and integrity that you've shown tonight to say thank you, but no, not here, not ever. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, my name is Jay Houlihan, and I'm a community member of the Stewart neighborhood and a student here at Kalamazoo College. I'm here to ask that you not only continue to remove the COPS grant permanently off the docket, but to continue to defund efforts to criminalize your constituents rather than to protect them. This includes removing the ALPR flock cameras that are in our community and reinvesting that money currently being spent to surveil us into actual measures that create systemic change in our communities. I work at a youth shelter here in Kalamazoo. I see where every single day where we are lacking these resources. And despite having the budget to help, you as our city commission continue to utilize this funding to give to policing and surveillance practices, as seen even today in the drone monitoring the people in these rooms as they march the street, exercising a First Amendment right. These practices have always been known to be harmful, according both to factual research and the lived experiences of our marginalized community members who bear the brunt of your actions. While we all sit here in this gilded hall, we've just had our second unhoused community members die within the past 3 months. This is one of your constituents on our streets. This continues to undermine the community's faith in you as our commissioners and our city leaders. So please, I ask that you stand up for us, to continue to refuse cooperation with ICE and the current regime, and to invest in our community's resources, not their persecution. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Wendy Flora, and I'm a resident of Kalamazoo. I'm speaking today to ask that you do not accept the COPS grant or any other federal grant that includes stipulations that would require that the City of Kalamazoo and Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety share information, including citizenship and immigration status of our residents, with the Department of Homeland Security. This has potential to cause great harm and fear in our immigrant community and the community at large. As we are all aware, the current federal administration cannot be trusted. We are in unprecedented times where the federal government and the Trump administration are disobeying laws and have no regard for the very Constitution that formed our United States. They have sent ICE into municipalities to strike fear and have kidnapped and incarcerated innocent individuals in these places. They have also caused physical harm, including death, to citizens of the U.S. While we are aware that KDPS does not generally ask for immigration status when contacting individuals for service, as is laid out in KDPS Policy 414, the federal government could put undue pressure on local law enforcement through the stipulations of this grant to disregard or change this policy. We cannot allow our residents to be harmed in this way. This also makes the whole community less safe, as it can prevent people from reporting crimes due to concerns that they may be questioned about their immigration status. Our immigrant families in Kalamazoo deserve better. There's already a sense of alarm permeating the immigrant community, and they are afraid to leave their homes to purchase necessities or for medical treatment. Having immigrants in the community is in the city's best interest. The benefits range from economic growth and tax revenue to performing essential services and sharing their education to better our area. You must protect our community by voting no on any grants from the federal government that include these type of stipulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Aideen Clements. I live in the city of Kalamazoo, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Kalamazoo area. Thank you for your courage in not accepting the COPS grant. Nevertheless, I'd like to read some of our statement. The League of Women Voters was particularly concerned with 3 of the conditions of the grant. The first one, condition 2, concerning cooperation with agencies of the federal government by providing information on the citizenship or immigration status of individuals. The League supports due process for all persons, including the right to a fair hearing, right to counsel, right of appeal, and right to humane treatment. The League does not support deporting immigrants who have no history of major and/or violent criminal activity. Agencies of the federal government are currently subjecting immigrants to inhumane treatment and are denying them due process. Limiting official cooperation with federal immigration enforcement helps prevent a deterioration of trust in our local law enforcement, which serves to keep our communities safe. Second condition, condition number 3, threatens the existence or operation of any programs, as Wendy Fields pointed out, including any such programs having components relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion that violate any applicable federal civil rights or non-discrimination laws. While this may appear harmless, federal civil rights or non-discrimination laws are sometimes interpreted in a way that opposes efforts to provide opportunities to marginal or underrepresented groups. The League of Women Voters is committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, as is evident in our policy. The League is committed to fostering, cultivating, and preserving a culture of diversity, equity, inclusion, access, and belonging for all people. And then the condition number 4 states that recipients of grant funding must comply with all applicable federal laws and presidential memoranda and all executive orders by the President. Given that many of this President's executive orders are whimsical at best and unconstitutional at worst, this condition is unacceptable. Once again, thank you for your courage in not accepting the grant, and as you can see, the League of Women Voters would not support accepting this grant. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jack Pappin. I'm a college transplant from the East Side, and I now live in Kalamazoo. I'm going to preface my opposition to the COP grant by stating that I'm not anti-police. My father has been a police officer since before I was born, and I love and support all that our police officers do. I do, however, have a problem with masked, unaccountable militant army that is roaming through our cities and seemingly only answerable to the President of the United States. We have all seen the horrors that have unfolded in Minnesota and that are still continuing to unfold in Minnesota and around our country, and we cannot allow this to happen in our city. If you have not already, I implore you to read the letters that are being written by children in these internment camps. I repeat, children are being abducted and taken to these internment camps. The children are traumatized, and this trauma will follow them for the rest of their lives. When they leave, if they leave, because they are often held for weeks or months, they are visibly and emotionally and mentally traumatized by these horrors and abuses that they are facing within these internment camps. We have a beautiful and diverse population in this county and in this city. We welcome everyone here, and we cannot allow our already vulnerable members of our community, like our immigrant, our queer folks, and any other people who could be racially or ethnically profiled to be abducted out of their homes or off the streets. I'm asking everyone here and demanding that they reject all grants or work with DHS or ICE. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hey everyone, nice to see you again. I had this long, drawn-out, angry speech written. I guess I don't need to use that one, so I'm just going to kind of wing it. First off, thank you. Thank you guys for voting to remove this from the agenda. I don't know what work went on behind the scenes. I know that I know what I don't know, so thank you. Thank you. Thank you for speaking up in public on this COPS grant. I want to let you know that if this comes back up, we'll come back. And I've told each and every one of you at some point that I'm going to keep showing up to tell you what the community wants. I think it's important for you to recognize that there's indivisible folks, there's Isaac folks, there's Kalamazoo Democrats, there's a bunch of different coalition members in this room right now giving you speeches on this grant, so be aware. But thank you again. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next, please.
Gloria Baldwin Wilson. I live in West Midge Hill, and I've been a resident of Kalamazoo for about 40 years now. I do thank you for not passing this COPS grant. There are a lot of reasons. Others have spoken why it's a problem. I wanted to mention that the arena was given as an excuse for the 10 additional cops, and the arena is responsible for their own programming and their own security during events. The owners of the arena should not be expecting the city of Kalamazoo to subsidize the arena by hiring and paying ongoing salaries and benefits for 10 additional police officers. But worse, accepting the grant would have required coordination with the Department of Homeland Security, and this would have been one more foot in the door for terrorizing our neighbors who happen to be immigrants or even look like they might be immigrants. There are better ways to create a thriving community than through increased policing of its citizens, especially our Black and brown neighbors. People love to quote Martin Luther King Jr., especially white people in February, and when he speaks inspirationally about, quote, having a dream, what people don't quote as much are his calls for the economic equality of the beloved community. Strengthening our educational systems, social supports, healthcare and treatment options, economic opportunities, and housing for all is what leads to a thriving community. Kalamazoo is often progressive in these areas, as someone who said they were from out of town mentioned. And Kalamazoo needs to continue to strive for positive outcomes in all these areas. So I would just like to end with some quotes that I feel are meaningful from Dr. King that speak to his economic vision rather than just his inspirational quotes. Our ultimate end must be the creation of the beloved community. It's much easier to integrate a lunch counter than it is to guarantee a livable income and a good, solid job. We can't solve our problems unless there is a radical redistribution of economic and political power. True freedom includes the ability to provide, to own, to build, and to leave something behind. A nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense, and I would add policing, than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death. I'd like to support Leslie's comment about, as a former social worker, I think 10 more social workers would be great, working with the current public safety. So thank you again for not accepting the COPS grant, and let's continue to build a thriving community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, everyone. Mayor Anderson, commissioners, vice mayor, thank you for having us up here today and giving us an opportunity to speak. My name is Samantha Vimes. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a community organizer here in Kalamazoo. I've lived here for a little bit more than a year and a half now, and in my role as a volunteer organizer and community organizer, conversations like the COPS grant has been something that people bring up constantly. People who are only coming to community events and learning about issues on the ground often do not have a view of how meetings like this work, how decisions like these come down the pipeline. I want to go ahead and say right off the top, thank you for removing the COPS grant from tonight's decision. We want to thank you for holding off and taking every opportunity to review. That being said, while I come up here as gracious as I can, I must come with a word of, I don't know how else to put it other than shame. I struggled very hard preparing a comment for tonight and ultimately decided to deny doing so. I'm coming up and just speaking from the heart, and I hope you'll grant me a little bit of grace when I come into this. I have to question the motivations that this was even considered to begin with. Our local police are not required to cooperate with ICE or DHS the way that this bill has suggested. It is not necessary for us to share information before due process. It is not necessary for us to take federal funding. It isn't necessary for our police to move without identification or with their faces covered. There is no reason to further instill terror about the police in our neighborhoods when we already want to have a better dialogue. Taking grants like this, considering grants like this, is what drives a wedge between municipalities, their police, and their people. I cannot speak to my frustration seeing this in the third town I have lived in just since COVID. I'm frustrated every time I go back and hear about news from home down south. I hear another city has been dealing with sweeps in their neighborhoods while we have the homeless being dehoused every single day in our town. There is no need for this, and it is a shame that it was even considered. I do appreciate it being removed, and I hope that these further revisions will only be to see this killed for good and all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Venetia, who I am doesn't really matter because today I'm using this platform to name every single individual who has lost their lives to immigrant and customs enforcement since January of 2025. Please give me grace on pronunciations. Genry Ruiz Guillen, Sarawit Gezahin Dejene, Maxim Cherniak, Juan Alexis Tineo Martinez, Brian Garzon Rayo, Non Nok Nien, Marie Angel Blaze, Abelardo Eveaneda Delgado, Jesus Molina Vella, Johnny Noviejo, Isidro Perez, Tien Xuan Fan, Chao Feng Ge, Lorenzo Antonio Baitrez Vargas, Oscar Rascon Duarte, Santos Banegas Reyes, Ishmael Alaya Uribe, Norlan Guzman Fuentes, Miguel Angel Garcia Medina, Huabing Xie, Leo Cruz Silva, Hassan Ali Mod Saleh, Josue Castro Rivera, Gabriel Garcia Avias, Kai Yin Wang, Francisco Gaspar Andres, Pete Sumalo Montejo, Shiraz Fatehali, Sachwani, Jean Wilson Brutus, Fawad Saeed Abdul Qadir, Delvin Francisco Rodriguez, Nengo Stanev Ganchev, Keith Porter, Renee Nicole Good, Alex Jeffrey Preddy, Geraldo Lunas Campos, Luis Gustavo Nunes Caceres, Luis Beltran Yanez Cruz, Parody La, Victor Manuel Diaz, Heber Sanchez Dominguez, Ophelia Bacolt, Lord Sim, Jairo Garcia Hernandez, Alberto Gutierrez Reyes, Emmanuel Clifford Damas, Pehman Karshenas Nahavabadi, Muhammad Nazir Patiawal, Royer Perez Jimenez, Jose Guadalupe Ranos Solano. Every single one of these individuals has been murdered by immigrants and custom enforcement on occupied indigenous land. We, as settlers on this indigenous land, owe it, I call not only for the removal of all federal grants to funding this occupying force, but the dissolution of police, of ICE, and of the American settler colony. And I'm not thanking you for doing your jobs.
Thank you. Next, please.
Early Bender. I live in Burke Acres neighborhood. I was here to ask you to not award the COPS grant. Thank you for doing so. I see it as manipulation and coercion from the federal government to instill all of what it's doing at the federal level at the local level. You are our protection. The state is our protection, and we need you to stay strong and not bend to the will because, as we all know, democracy is crumbling at the top. So we need to keep it strong here, locally, and I ask that you all remember that and keep that in mind. It doesn't matter how many dollars are in front of your face. The dollars don't matter. Our integrity matters. Our safety matters. Our community matters. So please just remember that.
Thank you. Next, please.
Everyone, my name is Tina. Been coming here forever. I just want to say first, thank you for finally realizing that we do flood in my neighborhood and all the flooding issues that we have. It's been 8 years. I appreciate someone trying to do something. That's all I've asked, is for you to try. And I'm sure glad you turned down this bill, this cop bill. I'm a lunch lady, and to take one of my kids out of my school, they're gonna have to kill me first, because those are my babies. So I'm glad you're not letting them come in Kalamazoo. We don't need that. We're a big family. We're a big, diverse family. Everybody looks out for everybody. You should know that by all the people that come here. They're always speaking about someone else. We don't need DHS, and we do not need ICE in Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo has enough issues that we need to fix and deal with. But please, we don't want them in Kalamazoo. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Claire, I live in the Vine. I do appreciate you all taking the COPS grant off the agenda, but I am sick of this whack-a-mole. We should be here expressing support for policies that the city has brought to the table for vote to improve the lives of our community members, especially the most vulnerable among us. Instead, we are here fighting back policies and initiatives that would actively harm the most vulnerable among us. It's frustrating and it's a shame. The grant acceptance was to be voted on last month, but was pulled off the agenda at the last minute, just like today. You must have known the Kalamazoo community would not stand for this, but up until yesterday, it was present on the agenda, along with a recommendation to accept from City Manager Hankins and review by Chief of KDPS, David Boyson, and prepared by Chief of Staff, Ryan Tibbetts. Accepting this grant would have not only exacerbated the fear, harm, and distrust of our immigrant communities whose very existences are under attack by the federal government, specifically by the figureheads who are the literal writers and funders of this grant, and at the same time, its justification was the new stadium downtown, a stadium that next to no one in our community wanted and is actively contributing to the gentrification of our downtown area and displacement of our unhoused communities. I hope there is a reflection on why this grant was even considered in the first place, and a recognition that federal grants are not safe at this time. Though we are sick of it, we will continue playing whack-a-mole each time a grant or policy like this comes up. This grant was functionally a 287G agreement, an agreement to comply with ICE and other federal entities which you all know have descended into full fascism and are complicit in genocide, oppression, and terror. I want to remind you first that it should be enough that your community is scared, terrorized, and harmed by grants like these. That needs to be enough. I will also remind you that the goalposts for the targets of fascism are dynamic. They shift and shift until it is you and your loved ones being targeted. It could be your child's school they come to, the place where you worship, the neighborhood you or your loved ones live in. So when you are faced with decisions like these, you all know what you are voting on. You have access to the conditions of grants like these. You cannot claim ignorance, good intent, or politic your way out of complicity. And as you can see, your community will hold you accountable. If you allow agreements like these to happen in Kalamazoo, please be aware your community will know what decisions were made and the names of the people who made them, knowing full well the harm that the consequences will cause. You say you want to build trust, build it. This grant should have never been on the agenda. Because I have a little extra time, I'd also like to mention that Chapter 33, Section 24 of the Kalamazoo City Ordinance functionally criminalizes being unhoused in the city of Kalamazoo, a community you say on paper you would like to support and empower. A temporary moratorium on these policies until alternatives are implemented and sustained is needed. Sleeping in parks is a crime, yet there is only one overnight shelter with restrictive and undignified policies. Charging phones and devices in park outlets is a crime, yet no public outlets are built into the city infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Laura Moss. I live in Southwest neighborhood in Kalamazoo. I am also, like many people here, grateful that you took this item off the agenda tonight. And the reason being is because ICE is reminiscent of how policing was created in this country during Jim Crow, post-slavery. How thugs with authority were allowed to literally kill people on the streets for no other reason than loitering or jaywalking. And we are seeing a return to that behavior with ICE. And yes, over the decades, it has ebbed and flowed, and cities have realized that their rottenly conceived idea of policing has eaten agencies from the inside out, and they've done things to correct that. But that is literally how policing started in this country, preying on people who had no other options because they were not allowed to be hired or have affordable housing. They were the least amongst us, and they were treated horribly by the police who were there to protect and serve. So I would just like that to be acknowledged. And I'd also like to ask, does the Kalamazoo Public Department of Safety have anything in their rules about cooperating with ICE or not? And if not, then there should also be something that prohibits them from cooperating with ICE. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Meg Adams. I do reside in the city, and I'm a member of Isaac. I do stand before you, like many other people here in the community, grateful that this grant was rescinded and will no longer be accepted. So I stand here actually, maybe with a little different point of view, but maybe what also has been brought up by others. Who on this commission will take this opportunity to interrupt internal operations that would ever even consider bringing you this grant that would harm our community? Who on this commission will have a conversation with anybody like Chief Boyce and whoever? I mean, certainly he stated some good concerns about behavioral health responses, emergency medical, and so on. But did we ever ask him why more officers? Were there not better or more effective alternatives to meet these needs that would not increase reliance on policing or jeopardizing our city's values? And the fact that it was applied for and accepted is problematic. So who on this commission is going to dig deeper about that, about who brought this in the first place? I mean, if you even think about what some people have said here, yes, you do have General Order 414 that states there's a separation between local law enforcement and federal civil immigration. But that in itself, if KDPS policy prohibits asking about immigration status, how do we reconcile that prohibition in any federal grant that effectively demands it? Did we have more money in the city than I knew about to be able to fight something and litigate it? Because we certainly know we can't rely on public immunity anymore, or joining any other city. The Supreme Court certainly has sent a strong message about limiting the reach of nationwide injunctions. So again, as I pause here, I'm just asking who on the city commission is going to dig a little deeper about how this even got this far in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Corey Jock, and I live on Homecrest in Millwood. I am encouraged by the removal of the COPS grant from tonight's agenda, but the same thing happened at March 2nd's meeting. I fear that this will pop back up on another agenda, or that tonight's removal is just kicking the can down the road. Please keep the COPS grant off the agenda and reject it permanently. The money is too expensive.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Pruitt. I am a new resident of Kalamazoo. I say this because my old residency was Florida. I come from where most of ICE has been terrorizing and the community has been silent. Here, what I see tonight, our community is not silent. And for one thing, I want to thank you for taking that off the plate for that federal grant, because they will take advantage of that. I have seen that with my own eyes. I have seen what they do. Make no mistake, it is not rhetoric, it is not if, maybe, when. I've seen it, it is now. I am a teacher. I was a teacher in Florida, and I saw what it did to my students. I saw what it did to their families. I saw what it did everywhere that it touched. I cannot say enough words at how hurtful it has been. But I came here because I wanted to do better for my community, and I couldn't do it there anymore. Not only is it community harming, it is also, for the sake of this current meeting, business harming. Because when our Black and brown brothers and sisters, community members are taken, there's no one to fill those roles. There's no one to be the construction worker, the bus person, the hostess at the restaurant. All of those businesses die because they don't have that anymore, because that's a lot of where our current immigrant families go to, because it is a step into our economy. But with ICE, that takes that away. And I've seen that once again with my own eyes. I look at all of you and I see the hope that I used to have for my community back in Florida. And I hope that you all continue to prove me right in moving here, and to continue to reject any language that would encourage ICE in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, my name is Liberty Kostreva. I live within the West Douglas neighborhood since I was about 5, and I'm a student at Western Michigan University. The city's people have spoken plenty on the reasons that the language in the grant is dangerous, and thank you for removing the COPS grant from tonight's agenda. I'm here to represent my peers, the students, the individuals who may have class or homework in preparations to be future leaders and world changers. To ask that when language such as the conditions in this grant comes up in the future, that you remember the resistance your city has had in the past and the resistance your city has had today. We ask as well that you guarantee to us that you value our safety and will continue to listen to our voices. Like many of the people here have mentioned, I am a dreamer. Let us keep dreaming.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Ashante Collins. I'm the Anti-Racism Task Force Lead at Isaac. I would like clarity on the fact that you all took the COTS grant off the agenda but did not rescind it, correct? Condition 4, the grant requires the city to comply with all applicable federal laws, presidential memorandums, and executive orders issued by the president. That condition is not procedural language, it is a commitment. And in the current national climate, it is a commitment that carries consequences for the people who live in this city. Because we are living in a moment where executive orders tied to immigration enforcement are expanding rapidly, we are living in a moment where federal expectations around information sharing and cooperation are shifting quickly. And when local governments agree to comply with these directives as a condition of funding, they are not just accepting resources, they are accepting alignment. Tonight, I'm asking this commission to consider what that alignment means for the safety of Kalamazoo residents, especially our Latinx brothers and sisters. Families in the city are already watching what is happening across the country. They are already asking whether it is safe to speak up, whether it is safe to report harm, whether it is safe to ask for help. And when policy decisions increase uncertainty instead of reducing it, they weaken protection instead of strengthening it. The responsibility of local leadership is not simply to accept available funding, it is to safeguard the people you represent. KDPS has already recognized this through policy 414.3, that victims must feel safe coming forward when they have been harmed. That policy reflects an understanding that safety depends on trust. But federal requirements like 8 USC 1373 limits how cities can restrict the sharing of immigration status information when it exists. And when families begin to question what happens to their information after they seek help, they stop seeking help. That is not protection, that is exposure. And exposure is the opposite of what safeguards are meant to do. Kalamazoo has said clearly that it is an anti-racist organization. Being anti-racist is not a statement, it is a standard. It means asking whether our decisions protect those vulnerable when systems shift. It means refusing alignment when alignment creates risk. It means standing in truth even when standing in truth is uncomfortable. Because those are moments when leadership requires unity. And there are moments when leadership requires courage instead of unity. When the standards begin being set elsewhere do not reflect the standards of this community, the ones that are being asked for, it is not our responsibility to follow them. It is our responsibility to protect our people. This decision also carries financial responsibility that has not been clearly explained. This grant funds officers for 3 years. After that, Kalamazoo taxpayers must sustain those positions locally. So what is the plan for year 4? So what happens if reimbursement is delayed? What happens if federal priorities change? What happens if dollars do not arrive? Where does that funding come from? Housing, youth investments, violence prevention, neighborhood stability? Those are not technical questions, they are moral questions about what we choose to protect. There are timeless principles that guide communities forward. Behavior never lies. Action changes things, and the time is always right to do the right thing. Tonight, asking you to vote no on this grant is good trouble. Just like John Lewis reminded us, we need to get in good trouble, necessary trouble, to help redeem the soul of America, because that is what we're supposed to do. That is your job. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening to our mayor, our vice mayor, commissioners, city manager, city attorney. My name is Charlotte Davis with Isaac. It is a full house tonight, you all, and I ask that you please listen with your heart. This is not a time for any of us to rely upon our own expertise, but on the lived experiences and the expertise of those who are directly impacted. This evening, I strongly urge that you continue to vote no, not only on this grant, but anything federal funding under this administration. Times have changed, you all. And for the record, this grant contradicts KDPS's General Order 414. Entering into this agreement with the federal government at this time would allow the federal administration a greater ability to scrutinize words and deeds, particularly existing city policies. Also, condition 4, this is alarming. The agreement would bind the city to following executive orders, including some that have already been found to be unlawful, and most troubling, it is written to apply to all future executive orders and memorandums. And we can't possibly know what unhinged and supremacist type of orders will come forth. This puts our immigrant family, our community, and your stands already taken on DEI Condition 3 at risk. Many of us tonight are here who are impacted or standing on behalf of our family members who are impacted. Some of our immigrant family members will not understandably speak tonight. Some wouldn't even attend tonight for safety concerns, and that alone encourages us to move into reflective concern. As some elders would say, sons, daughters, aunts, uncles, they are our family. And I'm going to say that again. They are our family members. Our BIPOC immigrant family members deserve, as Layla Saad said, a place where everyone gets to live into the full dignity and their full humanity. Please don't approve any type of funding that puts any of our family members, any of our immigrant family members at risk. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners, City Manager, City Attorney. I'm here to say the same thing. We are asking that you do not accept this funding. Let's be clear. Immigrant families in Kalamazoo are already living in fear. ICE activity is on the rise. People are afraid to leave their homes. They're afraid to call the police, even in emergencies. And this is not hypothetical. It's happening right now. And yet tonight, some of you were even considering voting yes on this money and moving forward with this federal grant. And that will tie local policing to federal immigration enforcement. This is a direct threat to the safety and the trust of our community. Accepting this grant is not neutral. It's a choice that will erode trust, increase fear, and put families at risk. This is about more than $1.2 million. This grant requires the city to comply with federal laws, executive orders, and presidential memoranda. In today's political climate, it's not just risky, it's dangerous. Several federal actions are already being challenged in court. Can any of you honestly guarantee that accepting this grant will never pressure Kalamazoo to participate in unconstitutional federal actions? No, you can't. If violations occur later, will you claim your hands were tied just because you voted yes? When local police are seen as extensions of ICE, people stop calling for help. Crimes go unreported. Communities withdraw. This is not public safety. This is harm. We are grateful that it was removed from last month's agenda as well as this one, but we still also have questions because we did hear that you have until the 16th to make a decision. It gave us, the community, time to do a little digging, a little investigating, and this is why we are here and we're speaking up now. Families share real fears and impact of this program on their lives, and moving forward and accepting this federal grant will send a clear signal that federal dollars matter more than the people of Kalamazoo. You can still stop this because the grant has conditions that will allow you to terminate it by a written request. History will record that you prioritize federal funding over community safety and civil rights if you do decide to eventually accept this funding. Each of you will be accountable for voting yes if you do accept it. And to the families in this room, and to your constituents, and to public record, everybody who votes yes will be held accountable. Kalamazoo has a chance to stand on the right side of history. Terminate the grant, protect the trust, the safety, and the dignity of our immigrant neighbors. Anything less than that will have consequences, and everyone in this room knows that. Thank you.
Next, please. Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, my name is Luke Zimmer. Thank you all so much for listening to your constituents, and thank you to everyone who's spoken up here today. I wasn't necessarily prepared to speak, but seeing all these people who are braver than me, I had to step up here and just mention that I'm a member of the Kalamazoo County Democratic Party, and recently the KCDP passed a resolution calling on our county and municipal leaders to refuse to cooperate or to perform immigration enforcement and to limit its cooperation with ICE wherever possible. I'm not necessarily here to talk about that resolution, but I am here to say that one of the things we heard consistently from folks as we were debating this resolution and deciding whether or not to pass it as a party is that passing a resolution like that would, quote unquote, put a target on our backs. We heard that from elected officials. We heard that from people in the party. Accepting a grant like this, in fact, puts a target on our back. It invites scrutiny from the federal government by taking this money, scrutiny that we don't necessarily need. And I will go ahead and leave it at that because so many other people have put it way better than I could. But again, thank you all so much, and thank you to everybody who stood up here today and made their thoughts heard.
Thank you.
I wasn't going to speak tonight, but something wasn't said from a certain group, so I had to say something. My name is Sean McLaughlin. I hail from the Edison neighborhood. I'm a seminarian at Ecumenical Theological Seminary, but I come to you mainly as a honorably discharged veteran of the United States Marine Corps. Served in the infantry, disabled, service-connected. I'd like to tell you a story about an elderly gardener who was doing gardener things, like with weed whackers, as gardeners do. And he got assaulted by a whole gang of young men who call themselves ICE. 1, 2, 3. 3 U.S. Marine Corps Marines call him father. This elderly gardener. They can't speak because it might prejudice the case. Charges have been dropped, but they never let them drop like they did. They haven't let it drop with Abrego Garcia. Little Liam Ramos, who just wants to go to school. This is who you'd be getting into bed with. This is who you'd be staining your hands with. Anything less than a full recension of this makes you holding their cloaks, as it were. Scripture we came across last term spoke to me, where it says, the Lord says, "You shall not wrong or oppress a resident alien, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt." And I'm looking around, and there's not too many of us who can say that all our people came from here. We shall not oppress the immigrant. Would that be the word today? You shall not wrong or oppress the immigrant, because you are immigrants yourselves. I was the first, my brother and I are really the first generation to not hear German spoken in our household. We need to remember where we came from. And lastly, for Alex Peretti, when I was discharged in '97, the VA since then has been my primary form of health care. Those people, those doctors, those nurses, those social workers, they're our people. And he was doing the kind of things that we expect from our VA healthcare. He was trying to help someone who was down. She was getting hit on. And he paid the ultimate price. He was one of ours. He was one of ours. I think when it's all said and done about this, you know what we're going to say about this epoch of our time of history? It's how many worthy many died for so few unworthy people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Kenoya, Ani Boju, Kenoya, Ekale, buenas noches. I just want to greet everyone. My speech today is really to thank and acknowledge those who dissent. Because of those who dissent, I've learned to be a better human and part of a community. I've learned from my own cultural groups and others marginalized how intersected our realities and experiences are. Privilege, what is that? It's generally considered something we have that we have not done anything to earn. Maybe we receive favor or others prefer us in spaces versus those who would dissent. Maybe it's easy access and easy ability to acquire wealth, start nonprofits, which often reshapes white supremacist structure under a philanthropist shield. Maybe it's recognition. Maybe it's ignoring a lived experience or several to sit above folks and tell them what is important while they go home to flooded streets like the citizen near Lake Street mentioned. Maybe it's students in interfaith homes having to walk further and not having safe and reliable transportation to get to school than other neighborhood kids to get to school, whose parents have more wealth and easy access to buses. Maybe it's seeing original people of this land and those coming here to escape whatever prevents them from thriving in their country of origin as outsiders, because you've been able to have both racial and wealth-building access. Others are generations behind in building or even caring about. Privilege is the default of what policies are built on, and policymakers often have generationally controlled the outcome of what happens to marginalized people. Respectability politics, the belief that a good education, a respectable job, and replacing our cultural lifeways with the assimilation forced upon non-white people to survive will keep us safe. It's those misfits who are creating their own problems. It's black-on-black violence, thugs and guns and drugs and activists and noncompliance and resisting arrest and loitering and car gatherings. It's always us, and never those upholding white supremacy who are the problem. It's always trying to make improvements on our behalf fit into a system of carceral violence that's inherently violent. It's in white people calling cops for no good reason on kids or neighbors or whatever they want to weaponize them for. It's respecting a profession more than the people who pay their paychecks. We keep speaking about issues of systemic violence and white supremacy at all commission meetings, just addressing it in other terms because your eyes start glazing over at leftist radical buzzwords, telling us it's a business meeting when it's the people's business we are discussing. To shut down cultural responses is wild when you're not personally affected by these world events that hit us on a deep level, that aren't just business, but that impact lives and have the power to end them. It's pretty privileged to chide the response of the people. If you've ever been in a black church, you know that we're a responsive people and we'll bring the church to you wherever we show up. That being said, as more surveillance and more cops are being used, considered to be used, dangled as a possibility to be used, our freedom is at risk. As always, more cops do not mean more safety. As Commissioner Womack said at the gathering last weekend, where we stood together with the mother of Daquan Johnson, as their prosecutor decided not to press charges for his murder, he said while he may be a commissioner, when he gets out of bed, he's still a black man. Any of our people at risk reflected in leadership are accountable to those of us that you reflect and represent. My heart grieves for all the families mourning their children because law enforcement and settler vigilantism has been taking our loved ones since the founding of the U.S. on top of.
Thank you. Next, please.
John Espinoza, y'all should be ashamed of yourself to even consider, even put that once again on the agenda. That's something that shouldn't even been thought of, wanted, needed. This community is already suffering enough with all the harm that this commission allows. They allow KDPS to cause harm to our unhoused, to our activists, to anybody that doesn't look like them. Y'all need to take time and think, what is wrong with each and every one of y'all that wanted or even thought about taking this grant? This country is out of control. This administration is causing more harm than it usually has. Our ancestors had fought hard, their lives took for us as black and brown people to be here. To take a grant that will continue to cause harm to black, brown, indigenous communities is wrong. Y'all should know that. Right from wrong, you was taught that as a child. Nobody should have to told how harmful something like that is. KDPS has already continued to cause harm to our unhoused, our activists. This is nothing new. Why are we trying to add any more police to a harmful force that continues to cause harm to our black and brown communities? It's almost like you guys don't think for yourself, but you want that mighty dollar that causes so much harm. So much harm. People cannot think. All they want is money. At the cost of what? Human lives. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? How many more black and brown people have to die because of money or because of white people seem to still think they are the superior race? Our children deserve better. I want to see my son and my grandson grow up Because black men seem to be the biggest target right now. My son will be 10 next month. I want to see him grow up and live a full life. But this is not what's happening. They're being murdered by the people that are supposed to protect them. That shouldn't even been on the agenda ever. You should never even thought of wanting to take something that is so harmful. You want trust, but we cannot trust you. This just proves our point. You do not give a damn about this community. It's about money and what's making it look like to you guys and to rich white people. Y'all need to do better. If you can't do better and you're not going to do right by this community, step down. Move away. Go somewhere like Florida where they want dumb shit like that. Do better.
Is there anyone else in the chambers that wants to take advantage of the public comment period? All right, see no one. I'd like to thank everyone who took the time and made the effort to come down here and provide feedback and comment to the City Commission. Next is the consent agenda. Manager Hankins.
Thank you, Mayor. The following items are presented for consideration and approval. Item G1, approval of a contract extension with Earthworks Lawn and Landscape for 13 and 26 frequency 2026 property mowing in the amount of $168,760. Item 2, approval of a contract supplemental and change order with Preen and Newhoff for engineering services related to 2024 Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Edison Non-Copper Service Replacement Project in the amount of $270,000. Item 3, approval of a sole source purchase with Centrifuge Systems LLC for centrifuge equipment rehabilitation in the amount of $301,040. Item 4, approval of a contract supplemental change order with MES for firefighter turnout gear in the amount of $527,142. 5, approval of a contract supplemental and change order with Michigan Office Environments for office furniture associated with 150 East Crosstown facility renovation project in the amount of $976,623.39. 6, adoption of a resolution recommending approval of a social district permit for Old School Bars LLC located at 125 South Kalamazoo Mall. 7, adoption of a resolution approving the Act 381 Brownfield Plan for the B on Burdick redevelopment project located at 802 South Burdick Street. 8, approval of an amendment to services agreement with United Way of South Central Michigan for Kalamazoo Micro Enterprise Grant Program and to adjust funding sources for the KMEG Program 2026 funding. 8, approval of Housing Development Fund deferred loan in the amount of $350,000 to Cal Recovery One Limited Dividend Housing Association Limited Partnership to construct a new 48-unit housing project to include 46 permanent supportive housing units for those recovering from opiate and methamphetamine use disorders. 10, approval of an addendum to subrecipient agreement with Cal Recovery One Limited Dividend Housing Association Limited Partnership for the conversion of an ARPA grant to a deferred loan in the amount of $700,000 to construct a new 48-unit housing project to include 46 permanent supportive housing units for those recovering from opiate and methamphetamine use disorders. 11, acceptance of a redevelopment-ready communities technical assistance grant in the amount of $25,000 through the Community Economic Association of Michigan. Approval of the grant terms and sole source agreement with Middle for housing development analysis in the amount of $25,000. 12, acceptance of funding from the state of Michigan in the amount of $500,000 to purchase a firefighter turnout gear, and approval of a budget amendment in the amount of $500,000 to enable expenditure of the funds. 13, approval of the mayor's appointments to boards and commissions and committees. The appointment of Connor Sampson to the Downtown Redevelopment Authority and Downtown Economic Growth Authority boards for a partial term expiring March 31st, 2028. The appointment of Harvin Sandhu to the Downtown Redevelopment Authority and Housing Economic Growth Authority boards for a full term expiring March 31st, 2030. The appointment of Nelson Nave to the Historic Commission for a partial term expiring January 1st, 2027. The appointment of Sarah Munchow to the Natural Features Protection Review Board for a partial term expiring March 31st, 2028. The appointment of Drew Duncan to the Planning Commission for a full term expiring March 31st, 2029. The appointment of Diego Sandoval to the Planning Commission for a full term expiring March 31st, 2029. The appointment of Saki Bias to the Planning Commission for a full term expiring March 31st, 2029. Approval of the following 14, approval of the following reappointments to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The reappointment of Gary Wark for a full term expiring March 31st, 2029. The reappointment of Allison Hahn for a full term expiring March 31st, 2029. The reappointment of Jack Urban for a full term expiring March 31st, 2029. 15, approval of an easement agreement with Kalamazoo Public Schools, KPS, for water main installed as part of the KPS school project on South Westnedge Avenue. And 16, approval of the minutes from the City Commission meetings on March 16, 2026.
Thank you very much, Manager Hankins. Commissioners, the requested action is a motion to approve items 1 through 16 and authorize the city manager to sign all related documents on behalf of the city. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Slaby.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Hess. Deputy Clerk Moss, please call the roll.
Commissioner Praedel.
Yes, I just did want to notate on G7, I would ordinarily abstain, but Mr. Bogan, whose development that was concluded as multiple terms of board service with my employer last month.
Commissioner Slaby.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Duncan.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The items on the consent agenda are approved. We're now down to H, the regular agenda. City Manager Hankins.
Thank you, Mayor. Item H1, approval of the sale of 808 Simpson Street to Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services for the sale price of $500 and amend the housing program's budget for $970.
Thank you, Manager Hankins. I don't suppose there's a staff report on this item.
There is not.
All right. Any questions for staff, Commissioners, on this particular item? All right, seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on this item? That's item H1 under the regular agenda. If so, please come to the podium, give us your name and whether you live in a city. You will have 3 minutes for your comments. Deputy Clerk Moss, do you have? There we go.
Good evening. I'm Beth McCann. I'm the Executive Director of Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing. Just want to thank you for putting this on the agenda. We are currently building 3 homes on Simpson and 2 on Ada, and this will allow us to continue that project to build affordable housing on the north side. So we're very excited to be able to add this to the roster of homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else want to comment on this item? See no more comments, Commissioners. The recommended action is a motion to postpone until April 20th, 2026. Is there a motion?
A motion to postpone is still needed. A motion and second to postpone.
Okay.
According to the proposed action, it's...
I'll make a motion to approve.
Support.
Okay, thank you so much. Deputy Clerk Moss? No confusion on this, Manager Hankins, right?
I have staff here just to clarify the motion or the need to postpone to April 20th.
Yes.
That can clarify.
Thank you for having me up here. Yeah, so with property acquisition and disposition, it's a first one is the introduction and the read, and the second meeting will be the recommendation of action. So this is just the...
I'll withdraw.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So in essence, that's just the process we follow. It takes 2 times the city commission here, right? All right, 2 visits. So the recommended action is a motion to postpone until April 20th, 2026. Next meeting. Okay, motion made by Commissioner Slaby. Support. Is there a second? I'm sorry.
Support.
Okay, supported by Vice Mayor Duncan. Any discussion, commissioners? Commissioner Slaby?
I guess just for the future, wouldn't this be considered first reading and then there just would have not been a motion? Like other items we've had in the past?
Typically, we follow that process for ordinance adoptions. This is, believe it or not, this is the first sale that I've actually been on that heard this before. I typically would agree with you that would be a better route to take. However, this is the way it was captioned.
Do we need to vote?
Well, there's a motion on the floor, yes, so we'll need to take action on it, I guess. At this point, this is a bit of a surprise because this is not the normal way we approach this. I'm not quite sure how we landed on this language today, but in essence, this will appear on our next agenda. We're just postponing it to that agenda. Are we okay with that? Deputy Clerk Moss, please call the roll.
Commissioner Slaby?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hess?
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel?
Yes.
Thank you, commissioners, for going through that confusion. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is item H2, City Manager Hankins.
Thank you, Mayor. Approval of the purchase of a self-contained breathing apparatus from McQueen Emergency through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program in the amount of $1,012,900. Yes.
Motion.
Manager Hankins, is there a staff report on this item?
Mayor, there is not.
Commissioners, are there any questions on this item? Yes, Vice Mayor Duncan.
This is for public safety?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yes. Any other questions, commissioners? Seeing no questions, this is an opportunity for everybody in the audience to comment on this item. Is item H2, and is particularly related to the purchase of self-contained breathing apparatus. Seeing no comments, commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to approve. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Slaby.
Support.
Support again by Vice Mayor Duncan. You got to pick it up on this side over here now. All right. Discussion, commissioners. Commissioner Pradel.
Yeah, I appreciate passage of this, if we can do so. If you read it in the packet, and we've been educated about this, about when our firefighters go into buildings, it's not just the hazard about the heat and the flames. There's oftentimes toxic fumes, carcinogens, and other gases that are harmful to human life and are often cancer-causing. So it's critically important that these things, like the turnout gear we have on here tonight, and these breathing apparatus, that we make sure that they're the best of the best for our team.
Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Deputy Clerk Moss, please call the roll.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hess?
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel?
Yes.
Commissioner Slaby?
Yes.
Thank you, commissioners. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is reports and legislation. City Manager Hankins.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items from the manager's report that I've shared with you. The city continues staff and continues our sustainability work. There's an Earth Day and Arbor Day observance that is coming up April 20th that you all are invited to attend. Relatedly, our work around sustainability, we have continued to focus on our tree canopy. Our crews plant between 300 to 500 trees each year, and that work will continue. I believe we have a day coming up this month where we'll plant a tree in Bronson Park. Again, you'll be invited to be a part of that. That might have actually happened. Yard waste pickup continues. The monthly yard waste collection begins this month and continues through October with pickups once a month on the scheduled date for your address. So residents can place prepared yard waste at the curb the night before pickup. New this year, what used to be the April spring cleanup and May-October brush pickup has been combined into one yard waste program. So the same materials will now be accepted throughout the entire April to October season. And finally, the work around Imagine Kalamazoo 2035, Design It, continues with downtown meetings in April. So this is the work that you've heard about that's been ongoing with staff and the community, quite a bit of effort and residents being engaged. So that work will be continuing with engagement work throughout the month of April.
Thank you so much, Manager Hinkins. We are now on the point of our agenda where it's an opportunity for commissioners to make comments on any item. Are there commissioners who like to make comments this evening? There's a crack in the world. Any comments, commissioners? Commissioner Hess.
Sure. I'd like to reiterate Irshad Manji's an invitation for tomorrow at Heritage Hall on the campus of Western Michigan University, where there will be a panel and she will roll out the work that Moral Courage is doing with Western Michigan University student athletes and Promise Scholars to create moral courage leaders for all of the students at Western Michigan University. So really grateful to her for the work that she's doing here in Kalamazoo. And it was unprompted, but she really did say that Kalamazoo is one of the greatest cities she's ever been in. And I think the turnout tonight and the passion that we heard from the folks tonight really shows us the engagement and the courage of the people of Kalamazoo. So I appreciate that. I also appreciate public safety. I was able to do a ride-along with Officer Smith for a full afternoon day and saw many things in Kalamazoo, and I saw the passion, I saw the commitment to the work of public safety by this officer and the way that he worked with his other officers on critical issues. So I want to this was a hard thing. It wasn't a hard thing from a moral courage perspective. It was a hard thing to hear from if you are a public safety officer and you have committed your life to this work of keeping the people of Kalamazoo safe. And they have. The training that they go through is impeccable. Victor Green, our DEI assistant chief, has done a great job of making sure that the people, or that the officers of Kalamazoo Public Safety are trained well and respond well to all people of Kalamazoo. And I know that their job is to keep everyone safe. And as Irshad said, we need to have healthy conversations and sustain teamwork, both up here with city manager and with all of the departments across the city of Kalamazoo. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hess. Commissioner Bradle.
I want to thank a number of folks from the community from coming out tonight. I've shared this multiple times. We've had high public turnout, but the days that cause me concern are not the days that the room is packed and people are expressing their concern. It's the day that we all fall silent. So thank you for showing up and sharing what's on your heart and mind. I also want to thank our local state delegation who helped to make possible the $500,000 as well for the turnout gear as well. It's critically important that we get the kind of support as well, so thank you to them for that as well. And then I just wanted to share a little bit, City Manager Hankins talked a little bit about the tree canopy, and we heard earlier today about the flooding that we have in our community and how that's continuing to persist with extremely heavy rainfalls. Our tree canopy, there are 12,000 right-of-way vacancies of trees currently in our community. And that doesn't include the aging areas of trees. And so it's critically important that we continue to invest heavily on that tree canopy in our neighborhoods in our city. And so I really appreciate that continued investment, and I hope we continue to put our foot on the gas with supporting those efforts. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Commissioner Slaby.
I guess I just wanted to say thank you for everybody for showing up and speaking in public comment. You know, I think there's organizations that are still sitting in this room that really provided a lot of background information on how this grant might affect people in our community, which ultimately, I believe, led to us removing it off the agenda tonight. So people bringing up their concerns ahead of time and having conversations with individual commissioners, which lead us to ask questions of our city staff and our city manager on the ramifications of future decisions, ultimately lead to the result that we saw tonight. So while I think a lot of times those conversations are held individually, and so you don't see that play out on the dais, that you know, there is a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to ask the questions, to request information, to talk through the legal ramifications, to ultimately get to a final outcome. So I am glad that we removed it off the agenda, and with the deadline being the 16th, we won't be meeting again for that to be accepted. And I think that it reflects our most recent decisions on other grants as well. So I'm happy that people showed up today, but I'm also happy for those that showed up previously when we reach out to the community and ask what people's thoughts are on this, so we can continue to advocate on our side.
Thank you, Commissioner Slaby. Vice Mayor Duncan.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off Commissioner Slaby. I just want to thank the organizations that engaged in this process around the COPS grant, that provided information and their personal stories about how this would affect the community in Kalamazoo. I want to thank the people who showed up tonight. You know, moral clarity is important, and I think as a commission, you know, we are on the road right now to showing the public this trust that you say we should earn, and so I'm elated at the actions of tonight. But to address federal funding, I think it would be irresponsible not to review federal dollars that come in. However, when it has this type of language attached to it, we have to be vigilant. I want to be clear. There's been conversation around this language being attached to our public safety, and public safety here in Border Patrol and ICE are not the same thing. And I want to be clear that this language is being tucked into many of the federal grants that are coming to the city. So just as we were vigilant tonight, please make sure that you're keeping an eye on the agenda for when other dollars come into the city and it has this language attached to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other comments? All right, so just a couple things to close it out here. Just one a look back and one to look forward. So just looking back just earlier this evening on our consent agenda, just to focus on this, there was over $1 million worth of investment in affordable housing in Kalamazoo. The way it is in Kalamazoo, that's kind of a matter of course. When we have those resources, I'd like to give a lot of credit to our staff here in Community Planning and Economic Development and Manager Hankins, working through the details to be able to basically put together a model where resources can be used in funding projects are very, very complicated, that have a vast number of funding resources in them with all kinds of nuances and caveats that make it difficult sometimes to add additional funding. And our team here at the city went through that so that a project which will be as affordable as any project has been in recent years, which is Cal Recovery, which is soon going to be having a groundbreaking ceremony yet this month. Wonderful project. Developers been working on that since 2018. So that's how long it takes to put these resources together and get approvals of various awards to do this. So really, really happy that's going to move forward. That was on the consent agenda, so that was just moved forward. As far as looking forward, one thing I do want to mention, I guess this is a bit looking back and looking forward, that there's a recent announcement that a entity here in town who'd had a long-term relationship with one of the jewels in Kalamazoo, which is the Kalamazoo Farmers Market, a beautiful, beautiful place where people gather for all kinds of positive things. And we have had a contract with the People's Food Co-op for years and years to manage that activity over the farmers market, oversee the activity there. And there was a recent RFP, and although it's not confirmed yet, I'm not entirely sure, I'm hoping that the contractor approval will be on our agenda for our next meeting, but there was a new provider who was selected to provide that management for our Kalamazoo Farmers Market through the evaluation of our purchasing department and so on. So I do want to say at this point, very grateful for all the fantastic work that People's Food Co-op has done helping make the market what it is, which is a premier place to go. And I'm believing that going forward it will continue to improve. And I'm sure there's still some details, final details to work out on that, Manager Hankins, but I'm looking forward to seeing that soon. I think the market is intending to open here in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks. Is that right? So we're going to have to move with all due speed on getting that in place, and hopefully there won't be any hitches. I know that we have great relationships with our local and more regional vendors that come to the farmers market, and they are really looking to us to make sure that this transition is as smooth as possible. Love that farmers market. And I love you, Kalamazoo. We're adjourned.